The first plasma bolt nearly took Sergeant Alina Cross's head off. She dropped to one knee, pulling the 3 Velkin cubs down with her behind the twisted wreckage of what had once been a supply transport. The younglings, barely past their naming ceremonies, pressed against her back, their soft fur trembling beneath her armored fingers. Their crystalline eyes, so large in their feline faces, reflected the fire consuming the colony around them. "Stay down," Alina growled, checking her rifle's charge. 40%. Not good. The Korthal raiders had hit the settlement without warning, their war machines tearing through the peaceful farming colony like steel through silk. The Velkins, a gentle species who had never known warfare before joining the Galactic Coalition, had been defenseless. Most of the adults had fallen in the first wave. Alina had found these 3 cubs hiding in a grain silo, their parents' bodies still warm outside. A shadow fell across their position. Alina's rifle was up before she could think, but the figure raised 4-fingered hands in surrender. An adult Velkin, bleeding from a gash across his spotted face. "Sergeant Cross," he wheezed. "The Council, all dead. The militia lay scattered. You're the only Coalition soldier left." Alina's jaw tightened. Of course she was. The distress signal wouldn't reach the nearest fleet for 3 more days. By then, the Korthal would strip this world bare and vanish into the void. The smallest cub, a female with silver-tipped ears, whimpered. Alina felt the vibration through her armor. "I need you to get to the caves," she told the wounded Velkin. "Rally whoever you can. I'll buy you time. With what army?" His ears flattened in despair. Alina glanced at the 3 cubs pressed against her. "Mine!" The adult's eyes widened in horror. "They're children. They've never even seen violence until—" "Which is why they're alive," Alina interrupted. "They hid while others ran. They stayed silent while others screamed. They have instincts even if they don't know it yet." She turned to face the cubs. The boldest one, a male with a jagged stripe across his muzzle, met her gaze without flinching. His nameplate read Core in Velkin script. "Listen to me," Alina said, her voice steel-wrapped in velvet. "Your world is burning. Your people are dying. You can hide in this rubble until the raiders find you, or you can fight back. I won't lie to you, this will be terrifying. But humans have a saying, the only way out is through." Core's ears twitched forward. "What do we do?" Over the next 2 hours, Alina Cross became something between a drill sergeant and a guardian angel. The cubs learned to move through the ruins without sound, their natural agility enhanced by human tactical doctrine. She taught them to use the environment. Collapsed buildings became sniper positions. Narrow alleys turned into kill zones. Smoke from burning structures provided cover. The Velkins were natural climbers. Alina exploited that. While she drew fire from ground level, the cubs scaled walls and dropped salvage grenades onto enemy positions. They were small enough to slip through vents and access tunnels the massive Korthal couldn't follow. Their keen hearing detected patrols before scanners could, but it was their fear that Alina weaponized most effectively. "Fear doesn't make you weak," she told them during a lull, wiping purple blood from her blade. "Fear makes you careful. Fear keeps you alive. The trick is teaching it to work for you instead of against you." Core absorbed every word like a sponge soaking up water. His eyes lost their glassy terror and gained something harder. Something focused. By nightfall, they'd sabotaged 6 war machines and killed 24 raiders. The wounded Velkin had reached the caves with 30 survivors, but the Korthal commander, enraged by the resistance, was deploying his heavy assault units. "We can't win this," one of the other cubs whispered. "A male named Tesh. We don't have to win," Alina replied, loading her last magazine. "We just have to make them bleed for every inch." The final assault came at dawn. A column of Korthal armor rolled toward the cave entrance where the survivors sheltered. Alina and the cubs stood in their path, 4 small figures against an army. "This is insane," Tesh breathed. "Probably," Alina admitted. "Core, remember what I taught you about leadership?" The young Velkin nodded, his claws unsheathed. "The leader goes first." "Wrong." Alina smiled behind her helmet. "The leader goes where they're needed most. And right now, your people need someone who speaks their language, who knows their pain, who can show them that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it." She pressed a detonator into Core's paw. "That canyon pass we scouted? I rigged it with every explosive we had left. When the convoy enters, you trigger it. Then you run. You get those survivors off-world." "You survive, Mom. What about you?" I'll make sure they follow me instead of you. Kor's ears flattened. Then slowly they rose again. His eyes held something Alina had seen in countless young soldiers across 100 worlds. The moment when a child realizes they must become something more. No, Kor said quietly. We fight together. Kor, you taught us to lead from where we're needed most. The cub's voice grew stronger. We need you to see this through. And our people need to know that we saved ourselves. The other two cubs moved to flank Kor, their fear still visible but no longer paralyzing. Tesh's tail was rigid with determination. The female Sira bared her fangs in an expression that was purely predatory. Alina felt her throat tighten. She'd trained soldiers for 15 years, seen countless recruits transform under fire, but this was different. These weren't soldiers. They were children forced to become warriors because their world had shattered. And now they were teaching her about courage. All right, she said softly. We do this together. The battle that followed would be written into Velkan history as the Day of Small Teeth. Alina Cross drew the convoy into the kill zone, her rifle singing its deadly song. But when the trap sprung, it wasn't the human who led the survivors in their desperate charge. It was Kor. The young Velkan erupted from concealment with a war cry that would have seemed impossible from his small frame hours before, leading 30 terrified civilians turned fighters in a final desperate assault. They used every tactic Alina had taught them, every advantage their size and agility provided. The Korthal, expecting easy prey, found themselves facing an enemy that fought with the fury of the cornered and the cunning of the desperate. When coalition forces finally arrived 3 days later, they found the colony in ruins but not destroyed. The Korthal commander lay dead, his throat torn by Velkan claws. The survivors had held, and at the center of it all stood Sergeant Alina Cross and 3 cubs who had learned that sometimes the smallest creatures cast the longest shadows. Kor's stripe, once just a marking, had become a badge of honor. Other young Velkans began painting similar stripes on their fur, the mark of the first cubs as they came to be known. They had huddled behind a human when war began, but by the end they were the ones leading the assault. The human didn't make us warriors. She simply showed us that we always had been. Kor, addressing the Velkan War Council, 5 years after the raid of Small Teeth,